The Chevrolet Equinox gets a new face and a new trim for 2022. This is a compact SUV. It sits below the Blazer and above the very small Trailblazer in the Chevy lineup of SUVs. We reviewed those other two Chevys, so go check those out. And then come back here and watch me next to this pretty Equinox RS in cherry red, giving me some Camaro vibes, so your heart should be pumping right now. Or maybe you want to see real sports cars. We drive those too at CarGurus, and we drive everything so you don't have to. The Equinox was new for 2018. It's identical to the GMC Terrain with a totally different body and interior. There aren't many ways to make an Equinox look sporty, but this is the RS, and I credit Chevy for trying. When I think RS, I think Camaro. That's the rally sport trim that Chevy introduced in the late 1960s on the first Camaro. It was an appearance package just as it is now. You can still order a Camaro with the RS package, but more so, it's available on 4 Chevy SUVs, including this Equinox. What does all that get you? Well, you get the black window surrounds, you get black badges, you get bigger 19-inch dark gray wheels, and in the front, a black Chevy bow tie emblem, a black grille, just more polished black everything. Now, every Equinox gets a new face, thinner headlights below here, these DRLs up here. The RS gets LEDs, that is not standard. It also gets nicer LED rear taillights. Overall, especially in this color, I would go on a second date with it. I would. The interior doesn't change for 2022, except on the RS. You get dark chrome accents around the air vents and a black Chevy badge, plus red stitching on the gear shifter, the armrests, and the seats. Order leather and you get red piping. If this interior looks familiar, it's because Cadillac has copied the general design. That's bad for Cadillac, but pretty good for Chevy. It's a basic automobile with some attention to detail. The vertical air vents flow around the display like wings. The 8-inch touchscreen has an attractive black bezel that's nicely integrated in the dash and also appears to float. I like the leatherette on the dash and the look of this thin 3-spoke steering wheel. The gauges look really old, and if you look close, you'll see uneven panel gaps and feel a lot of low-grade plastic. These seats are flat and don't have a lot of cushioning, but overall it's not bad. The back seat's good, there's plenty of room, rear air vents, that's not always a given in any car these days. I like breathing, so do you, right? Hopefully. There's also rear USB ports, an AC power outlet, another good thing. These seats also recline, but they're not as easy to adjust. That's basically it. But it's better than nothing. Cargo space is good, 30 cubic feet behind the seats, 64 when folded. I only wish that Chevy traded some cubic feet here for some more horsepower up there. The Equinox used to have a decent engine. It was a 2-liter turbo 4 that made over 250 horsepower, but after the 2020 model year, GM just dropped it. I don't know why, so all we're left with is this 1.5-liter turbo 4. Now, it's the same amount of money, they're not charging you less, but you're getting a whole lot less power, 170 horsepower, 203 pound-feet of torque. And it takes a lot of effort to get anywhere with this thing. The good thing is that it's not gritty, it's not coarse sounding, and even under half or full throttle, it's not that loud, it sounds actually okay. Now, previous GM engines, that wasn't always the case. They've got it together with this one, even though it doesn't make a ton of power. But the towing capacity is reduced from 3,500 pounds with that 2-liter turbo 4 down to 1,500. That's a big difference, so if you were planning on towing anything, forget it. Now, this level of power may not be a big deal around town, but it does labor to keep up with highway traffic. And believe me, when that semi-truck is at your left shoulder like this, you're gonna be praying, please, please, please. And then you'll get there eventually. The transmission is a 6-speed automatic. Now, 6 gears in 2022, we've moved past that. A lot of manufacturers, most of them are doing 8, 9, and 10. Mazda still uses a 6-speed, but why is Chevy still doing it? And it really shows in the gaps in power, because when you're on full throttle, it just kind of hangs, it doesn't really know where to go, and there's no, wow, it really just lunges there. There's no sport mode, there's no paddle shifters. So most crossovers that are front-wheel drive based, like the Equinox, well, they'll activate the rear wheels automatically when the car detects slippage, but not in this Chevy. You have to press the all-wheel drive button on the center console to activate it, and it locks it that way. But to be honest, if you forget that it's there, and most people aren't really paying attention to that sort of thing, you just want to get in your car and go, the front wheels are going to slip. You're never going to have that traction. That's an odd setup for an all-wheel drive system, because everything typically is automatic unless you're getting, say, a Chevy Tahoe, a truck, an actual truck where there's a separate switch for two-wheel drive. That's typically favored. But here, even though for the most part you're running in front-wheel drive for fuel efficiency because you don't need the rear wheels for traction, the moment that you do, say around a turn, you're not going to get it. So you have to press this all-wheel drive button. Luckily, the car will remember that setting after you've turned it off, but I don't really like how that's set up. The handling is the better part of the Equinox. General Motors in general, it's a funny thing to say, they know how to tune a chassis, whether it's an SUV, whether it's a small sedan, they get it right. The suspension is just pretty good. It's a little firm on these 19-inch tires versus the smaller ones that come standard, but I'm having a good time. I like the braking feel as well, and the auto stop start system is actually more transparent than it used to be. Considering how behind the engine and the transmission feel, the steering and the suspension are actually good. Pretty accurate feel with the steering. There's not a lot of slop at all. There's not much body roll. It's all very well controlled. It's pretty quiet in here. It's pretty compliant. Considering how small this engine is, I was expecting the fuel economy to be better. The EPA estimates 25 city, 30 highway, 27 combined. That's just okay for this compact SUV segment. I would have loved to have seen a hybrid option, a plug-in hybrid. General Motors isn't really committed to doing that. They're committing to full electric vehicles, and that's well and good. But in the meantime, I would just love some hybrid assist. The CR-V has a hybrid. The Ford Escape has a hybrid. Just offer it as an option, I think it'd be helpful. Now, an all-electric Equinox is coming sometime in late 2023 as a 2024 model. It looks pretty good in the photos, but we're years away from that car. I think GM could do a lot more to make this current Equinox better. I wish this space here had a wireless phone charger. It doesn't. There's also no semi-automated driving function like you'll find on a lot of competitors. There's not even active lane centering. And adaptive cruise and blind spot monitoring, those features are optional. But here's what's standard: pedestrian detection, forward braking, and a lane keep assist that kind of nudges you back in lane but doesn't steer for you. You want to adjust settings? Pretty easy. You want to change the privacy settings? Also really easy. You can change location, data services, even voice recognition sharing, all from the infotainment system. Most automakers don't even let you do that. There's also great 360-degree cameras, very high res, and so many different views. You can save your settings to the cloud, so if you're in another GM vehicle, it'll download all your favorites, your preferences, even your climate control settings. There's an app store on board. You get Spotify, the Wall Street Journal, the Weather Channel. They're limited right now, but it works very similar to your phone. You can install them, update them on the fly, very easy. And there's Amazon Alexa. If you're in love with her, you can talk to her all day and night. The 2022 Equinox starts at $25,800. That's more than the 2021 model because the base model is now the LS, not the L. My Equinox RS had the leather seats, 360 cameras, adaptive cruise, and the upgraded infotainment. Total price, $36,515 with destination. That's okay by itself, but next to the Honda CR-V, Toyota RAV4, Nissan Rogue, Mazda CX-5, Hyundai Tucson, and the Kia Sportage, it's not as great. Listen, the Equinox on its own is a good car. The problem is there's so many other better cars out there in the same segment for the same money. You get inside a Hyundai, Kia, or a Mazda, you're getting better interior design and quality. You get inside a Honda CR-V, you get the same kind of engine as the Equinox, but with more power and a better transmission. You get inside a Toyota RAV4, you get the hybrid version, which costs about the same, and you're getting way better fuel economy. So I think Chevy has some room to step this up, step it up several notches. We're gonna see that with the all-new electric Equinox coming out in a few years, but with the regular mass market gas version, there's more they can do. So for more car reviews, stick around right here. YouTube.com/CarGurus, subscribe, CarGurus.com, anytime, any place. We have tons of reviews for you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.